Ea yoxatini takat Johanna klein gulchish wujin khasati. Ya khana wesh kalni kedate yejagachtune. Shukwa aye achtuasago wujin aya gachtu tu kinach. Aga awe kagachtu akawe kagachtu niki. Ye awe hatuasago. Akadunik aya. Wan qanin slidzi yejne. Wujin koa yejagachtune ya yidat. Ye awe achtuasago. Yashkalnik chagodach aye chagodach ya yidati aye so ya atkatsko hasuji yesowesh kalnik a kaushit kaudujahit herwasako adusa a kaushit ya gushuk a khudzati Tl'anaxéedáxa haida hastu yejne Aqa'awe Global Heritage Foundation hastu jit hasawati Haskhat Ewawuz Wash 2014 Washkiwe Twagesigo Haiti de Shia Katin Ya An Haidil to Kagaktu Shahid Kashwatasakuko a Shingit Hatuasaku Jayagu Ginki Shingit the 2 yeti Ya Head Start you do a sago at Hastu Jisaya Pone Adati Jehwane Aka away Hosatin We Gushuk Uski Skashnik Kukun Udzati Kachwasatin Hoa Guksa Yet Ashlekat Ku Helfatasaku Kainach do yejene away Jiwanak away Jowdanak Akajakut ani de aya Kakwatinin Khataya Achina Ḳukaháanik Hechosaku Guksa we Kuk Yadu Hukoa we Dukashuk Kuk Sai Ya adusa a kaushahit we at Yahai Shkashnik Kukukach. Oh, yake. Ho owe do jit kaushahit. Wasasieti isekuge Guksa we Gushuk Kuku. Hoko a Telkata Dachjiwu. Na. Achjita wati. Wasashtuka Hatu de tea. Just like Hak in a Hoash the Katwish Kashnik. Global Heritage Haskachwawuz, Elke Wasakwati, Kakwanish Kashakshani teen, Adati Jagachtune, Kakagachtunik, Klingit Enach, Askwa Dana Iji Degachtuti. Wasa Achtu, Ke Hasuini Jachwanean, Shakshani, Kakachwanish. Dane has Aushaguk, Hayukatangi. Yachasaku Adusa, Yea Waka, Hawanachsaya. Pane Ḳukaháanik Telkadina ya Hasakawashi Tayukatangi Shakshani Khan Dutuye Wuti Tl'anaxéedáxa Ḳukaháanik Helta Chakugay Akatan Kalqa Hasaku Haskoa Gwash Chakudye de Haskakwakud Tl'anaxéedáxa Yukatangi Hoachi Hasaku Kedenyeji ne Wa Ḳukaháanish Yewa at Yawunatin, Yejitunean. Wasa Āk Tl'anaxéedáxa Hanakhaswu Arti. Yashkashnik. Kone Adat Yejuunean. Tl'an Yeju Tune Hoa Ajoe Hanakhaswu Arti. Dakte. Āk Tl'anaxéedáxa Gwaltech Tak Anach Tl'adat Yejachwane. Aqawe sheet de aya Hutuwatin Khatka Akshatka Akhyetki Outer Coast in Yejachwane Wegao Sal Nili Tin Yekhuchwa U just like I hit yir Khatka du Shatka du Sik Akhyetki Akshat Saku Tachunach Ajiye Wutian Hastu in Yejachwane Ya Eutu Ish Seidayaa Ḳuchtla Wuch in yashkalnik adat yejutuni. Ya yedat just lingit achjivu yatakach achtawasagu kinachgi tu ʼakawtuwaneek kagachtu ak ʼakananiki. ʼakawtuwaneek. Yeah, well. Gout hit Johan. Kuháank'i yudawasak yashkalnik Kuháank'i. Gulchish ahiti dishi an. Adusatu tuasagu yata awatu. It's Tl'anaxéedáxa.
Oh, okay. Gos yatak kidain kusiat ʼakawtuwaneek awe hastu kustiye.
Sheesh. And how would we just checking our translation abilities? What y'all think?
The Tauk is this year.
Or
Tl'anaxéedáxa, I don't know what the other is.
Winter.
Winter.
yes.
Winter Kadain is well.
Cold.
Dane. Yeah, cold. Well,
I don't know why they used Gadain, like, but I just wrote what they said. And the other thing I told them, I said, because these were kids' stories, I said, Adetki yes, Ja'an Ko'a, Achgetki Kheka Atcha Hasawacha, Achtuasuku Kheka Yucha Tankasawa Achi. So I said, my kids eat real food. I want them to hear real language. And so I just wrote down what they said. And it was so fun because I remember one of them would translate and turn to the other and go, Wasa ituwuch? What do you think? So the winter was very cold. You could say kunach. You could easily say kunach. You could say tachunach. There's a bunch of different ways you could say that.
So Kadain would translate to very there?
It's usually carefully or it was a really good kind of cold. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there is that type of cold.
Yeah, I would, as we edit this, I would probably change that to kunach just for clarity. But we are going to take this story and in the nest, and we're going to cook it down to a 20-sentence version. So, and then there'll be this full version. So we'll have 2. And then I think there'll be an animated version. It's really exciting.
Yeah, when you fish out in the boat, if it's not too windy but cold, that's a good cold to fish in.
Yeah.
The people wake up.
Is that teak the frozen teak?
Oh, okay.
Woodletich is frozen. So it's the same verb root, but woodich is different than woodletich.
Sorry, difficult or hard?
Yes.
Hard way of life, difficult way of life.
Yeah. So again, like as we go through like their life, and so we won't rearrange the whole thing. Like if this is how translation works, is that you think it has a different word order than English. So usually you go through and you figure it out like that. Then you might reword it. And how much you reword it depends on your intentions with translating. If you go back to the Davenhauers, their intention is very clearly to show that Tlingit is an elevated form of literature. So they would try and create a very poetic English version that wouldn't always line up. And so with the Raven book, it's probably a lot more of a literal line-by-line translation. Let's read the next line. We'll see how many, we might do like 10 of them. We'll see.
Oh, Guk day. Okay. Ďáchní tlén ka cut uwa gut. Ka yaní jit cut kushuahich.
Sheesh. Do we know what ʼakawtuwaneek is? Well, it'd actually be ʼakawtuwaneek. It would look like this.
Is that like I told it?
Well, ʼakawtuwaneek would be to tell information. Once you put in front of it, this is what are we doing right now?
Reading a story?
Yes, and
Telling a story? Translating a story.
yes, it's translation. So it's exactly like ʼakawtuwaneek, but you put in front of ka, and that is translation. So you could say ʼakawtuwaneek, translate it. Which I just told you, ook. And if you find yourself making a lot of great, accurate guesses, maybe take a pause and let someone else try it. But let's not sit here staring at each other either.
Very sick.
Really sick. But then you got plain, right? So it's probably ʼkuháank'i plain.
Big sickness?
Yeah. ʼakawtuwaneek.
The cut is back, right?
The cut is onto.
Onto.
But when you say ʼakawtuwaneek, like this literally, what would this mean literally?
It walked up onto a person or
Walk
people.
onto the people, right? And so, but this is how you talk about bad things coming. Famine, sickness, bad luck. ʼakawtuwaneek. It's a metaphor. It's used all the time whenever you talk about something really bad coming. And it has this idea of like a suddenness. Like this is a euphemism. Anybody know that one? Cut good. I'll tell you what, if I drank a big glass of milk, it would be cut good. Gawu. It's diarrhea. So, so it tells you that it's a bad thing and that it's kind of a sudden thing as well. So you could say ʼakawtuwaneek, and it came among the people, but the ʼakawtuwaneek has this idea that it kind of came out of nowhere and it kind of came all of a sudden.
It's always bad. ʼakawtuwaneek.
Yeah. I've never heard any example where like it was a joyful thing because
Is there?
it's walking onto the people. It's like it steps on them.
Oh, is there a positive version of that?
You'd say hastu ʼéidáx. That would be the most positive version. Or you could say ʼáidáx. There was a blessing that came upon them. And then if it was, or any other positive thing would usually be ʼqajituwati, or it would usually come into their possession. ʼqajituwati.
Tl'anaxéedátáxw. Could you say the first one again?
ʼáidáx.
ʼáidáx. Sheesh.
And so that's that. You'll find that one in the Raven stories too. Like they'll just say it sometimes, like a blessing came to the people. Okay.
And
And let's see, is sickness or giving us sickness or handing us something, handing us sickness or something like that? Maybe?
Well, yeah, so you do have jid, which would be jidach, but whatever, like what from what? Whatever is before it. So if you say ach jidach from me, but you can, this is something you can also do to say like one verb caused another verb, right? Or you could say ach yejini jidach chat with the wet. I'm tired from working. So this can also function in a metaphorical way to say like this verb is what caused this other verb to happen. So in this case, it is a noun form of sickness, and the sickness caused, right? And there's different ways to do this. You could say yanikuch. You could do that too. But I think there's some cases where jit just sounds a little bit better. But then you get kut kushuwahi.
Is that people died?
Yeah. And so you'd say, and from the sickness, people died off. So you do have shuwahi means for something to run out. It runs to its own end, basically. Kut is lost, and then the ku is people. So kut kushuwahi would mean a lot of people died off. It's like the masses. That's what we're talking about here.
And then they were starving.
Oh, we gotta read the Tlingit first. But you were right on.
ʻakawtuwaneek.
Don't want to
I
read it?
lost track. I lost track. Where are we?
Right.
ʻatxaka,
Ah,
ʻatxawudiyashq, awa. Jan has to cut a good. Aka has a slach.
yeah, wow. With the yeshq might be a new one for some of us. It's
New for me too.
yeah. So let's since it's a newer one, let's go check it out. Hold on. Give me that. Give me that. Here it is. Let's go check it out. So we're gonna go look up yashq. Scarce. And so one of the things I would point out is in this dictionary, the A vowels are the last ones. It tends to go front of the lips to back of the throat in terms of how they alphabetize. At the end is where they put things that are invariable. So if it's always short and high, like this one is, they put it down here at the end. So that's the way that they tell you, like it doesn't go long and low, it doesn't change. It's always yesh. And then we'll go look up the examples just so we can get a look at this verb. So we'll look for scarce, and we get yatak dana de yeshq. Money is scarce this winter. Kesh ut de yeshqin. Nothing was lacking, there was no shortage. So you do have de yeshq, which tells you it's probably a state verb because there's an imperfective that's plus I, right? So it tells you lots about it. So going back, I don't think, and that was why this thing was so fun too, because they would say stuff like, ooh, haven't heard that one before. Then I'd have to go in and listen to the tape and record it. So atra with the yashq.
Food was scarce.
Food was scarce. And then now we got Jan has to cut to a good. Yawn. Do we know that one?
I think I got a guess, but I'll let somebody else try.
I think there's a Kagwantan name. Yan Jiyit Ach. I think there's a phrase Achit Yan.
It's crying from hunger.
Yes. So yan is hunger. So it's a noun, yan. So when you say Achit Yan Uwaha, hunger has arrived to me, right? So and here we get again, Hastukat Uwagut. Food was scarce, hunger came upon the people.
They were starving.
And they starved, right? So shah is, shah as long and high is a famine. So that's a noun, but there's also a verb. Hasu shah would be they starved. Okay. Okay, so it gets a nice long one.
Khadija. Ya Shadkatsku Sahan Yuda Yuduasauk away du Kla du Ish du Ik Has Hadush Kiki Yan Has away du Nauk Has Cow de Kid.
Okay, sheesh. Adnanikyu.
And that young girl, her name was Sahan. Her mother, her father, her brothers, and her twin, they left her with something.
Okay, let's see. My keyboard changed for some reason. Okay. Sahan. Her mother, father, brothers, and
Her twin.
Ushkikian. Yeah. I think we'll probably change that to,
Okay.
yeah, because that does say twin, right? It's supposed to say her sisters, which I think
Okay.
should do ʼak'iyan. But I think there's no good way to say a woman's. I guess you should say dushatchi has kadukik has.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you just erase brothers and you just say ʼak'iyan, her siblings.
Mhm. Yeah.
We do have a decision to make. So it's good because we're give you guys an inside scoop. This is something that Ḳukáháa and Gold Belt Heritage Foundation are working on right now. So this helps us as we make some editorial decisions, which is sensitive stuff, right? It's the last thing I worked on with George and Marge. I can't remember exactly where we got about halfway through the story, and then George passed away, and then we didn't work very much after that because I was depressed. And then I worked with Marge a couple times to work through this, but I think we were both depressed because it went really slow. And then I didn't work on it for a couple of years, and then brought it to Sitka during that wonderful summer. I lived with Saul and his family, and spent amazing days working with Herman and Ethel and Anne to just translate this one. Okay, so we'll just say sisters here just for. And then ʼakawtuwaneek. So here you get a metaphor, right? So for example, ʼSeidayaa ya ʼakawtuwaneek. Hajig ʼakawtuwaneek. So ʼakawtuwaneek does mean to move in a mass, like they all left. But once you put dunak in front of it, right, which means they left her behind, Now, as soon as that just pushes it into, they all died off. And what this shows you in Tlingit is you have it up here and you have it down here, is once people start dying in the masses, we're always really careful how we talk about that, right? Like there's a way to say they all died. Like there is a way to say that, or they all got killed. But shuhich, it means they ran to their end. And then ʼakawtuwaneek means they all got up, and it's like they just got up all together and left. And so it's really interesting the way that Tlingit talks about that stuff. Let's read this one.
Let's see. Tl'anaxéedáɁw.
Jeez. You could say neich if you're a northern Tlingit, totally fine. This is a really interesting phrase because it could be interpreted in two different ways.
So Tl'anaxéedáຄໍis one person?
Yes.
Right? One person, and then Ďuudz'néex. Is that like, maybe, is that something about getting dressed maybe?
Not getting dressed.
He alone was saved.
Yes. So this would translate as like that. And so the way that this could work, like we hear this verb a lot as ʼawtuwaneek, like ʼákawtuwaneek. And it has different interpretations. I think this same verb could mean to heal, like especially like if you had a cut and I healed it, I stitched you up, I covered it up, I did all the work to heal you. That's where you get the S classifier, like the zero classifier, wuneech, got better. ʼawtuwaneek, they healed them. But the ʼawtuwaneek verb also has another definition, which means to save it, right? And this has been adopted by Christian translations into Tlingit, but it could be just like, I'm eating some food, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna save this last halibut cheek for tomorrow, right? That would be this same verb. I'm gonna save this food, I'm gonna set it aside and hold on to it. So it could mean saving in terms of like just setting it aside for later. So it also means the survivor, right? The one who made it. And so you'll see people, they'll say, "Ach ish qassaneech," my surviving father, right? And so this might be like one of the older members of your father's people. Like if you yourself are pretty old and there's not very many of them left who are that generation. So if you look in Hatu Naguyis, they're using that verb. And I do think this same verb means for the animals to come and take you. Kushtawe ʼawtuwaneek. The landowners took them.
I was just going to ask about that, Shanae, because I was wondering if it meant the animals come and save him.
Yeah, and so it's more complicated than them stealing you, right? Because of this is the verb they use. That's why they took them. Because yeah, it means, because I think what they're doing in those stories is they're usually saying, come here, let me show you how we live, and then we'll bring you back. So that's why, because they always come back in the stories anyways. And then here, ʼshuudz'néex literally means they saved themselves. But in this case, it means the only one that survived. Right? So there's different, so you can end up with like different ways to sort of finally translate it, but that's how the Tlingit works. ʼéidáx ʼshuudz'néex, she was the only one who survived.
Did we believe they could come back from that land? Anyashtahash. Gusu we ani. Gusu we ani.
Yeah, they usually, a lot of times they did come back. And it kind of depends. Like we have some of these stories where there's a very common pattern with some of this stuff. They violate the order of the natural world. They get taken and then they come back. But sometimes they, you know, this is the moment where it becomes when their life spins out of control. Is usually when the salmon boy throws that salmon, or those little boys, we're going to see in this ʼéidáx story, when these boys laugh at that little bird and point at it. When that girl says basket butt, and she's talking about the ʼákawtuwaneek. And so whenever they insult the animal world, that frog girl story where she points at the frogs and laughs at them and says they're so ugly. And so that's when they come and take them. But they usually bring them back. But the ʼéidáx story, she doesn't come back. She transforms into ʼéidáx, which is the wealth woman. So sometimes it's not, I think if you've got ʼakawtuwaneek, or if you've got ʼákawtuwaneek, that means they came back at some point. But there was another verb, like when this book does come out, there's some verbs I want to hold on to. And I'll show you folks what this book is going to look like. At some point, it'll look like this. Let's see. So here's the frog, and we'll probably change the titles to like the titles. They're usually the old stories. They don't say it's about someone who marries someone. It should probably be the woman who offended the frogs. And so we'll probably make some title adjustments, but this is what these stories are going to look like. So there's these illustrations. We'll probably have some different ones because this is what we've got. And then there'll be like a picture and then some text, like about a paragraph of text right here. A picture, paragraph of text. And then the one I wanted to show you here was a little bit further along in this story. Let's see. Not there, it's right here. So this line, so this, when I was working with, this is what George said. He said, this is the verb for when animals repeatedly pull someone underwater. So I was like, we got a verb for that? Okay. And so, but it means to lead someone by the hand somewhere, right? But there will be certain things, like even though the goal is to have like this version for the adults and for the advanced learners who happen to be children as well. But to like sort of take this whole thing, if you were to say, yeah, ye shat in yeah, ye shat in ya ayachte hasbuad hasu has ausatin kahasakawa ke hasawuti we hikchekwane ko ahin has ashchiwatan do ish kashatsini kau addi we hikchekwane has to jideye ausene wushinadi tsik ka ye awa uwu atha hinde ye ausene ahe has ausene we atha kashatsini kau addi. Has to has to see. So there's like a lot packed in there, right? And I think it's going to be solid. Like it'll be a great resource for advanced learners and for older kids who are growing up in the language. But we're going to have a version that's probably just going to be 2 sentences on this page and very short. And so there's going to be like a kind of a kindergartner version of this, which will also be used in beginning language classes. Right? I'm not trying to offend anybody, but the kids at the language nest end up being at about the same level as the beginners, you know, as far as what we're trying to do with them. And they actually surpass the beginners because they're spending 12 hours every week, totally immersed in Tlingit. I know they're doing 24, they're doing 24 hours per week in Tlingit. Okay, we should take a break. We will come back to this story. We'll probably leave it here. It was just a translation exercise, and we'll go back into Seidayaa, and we'll come back at about quarter till. Chish. Ya yidat Seidayaa ʼéidáx anak ʼéidáx galnigiach tuasagu tusaachi. Itcha kinach gachtutu yat gwalchakut yede ayashkatulniki. Ţukáháa nasjankat winits akach tuasagu yanyinei. Tiayach kik. ʻéidáx.
Okay, this is March 7th with Mrs. Nyman. She'll be talking about the Tl'anaxéedáḳw.
ʼakawtuwaneek ʼéidáx ʼakawtuwaneek ʼéidáx وشاوت أكونيس وتكايتي أو وانا نيشيا أو أتديني أو يا خوات أتقولي كذا تاشوي توا أختش أو ثلاث أيخيا تاهستو داشات أقوى ثلاث أخين كودوني قواسا تاهستو داشاتي وقت دوانا نيسوي وشاوت شيشو دينوك وتكوني تو ديتان تا قوة يا أكتش شيتي دادوني تخوكا خندق ناسلي جيه هيودو تلت ودلت تدا وتششيت أودود لي خي أو قوتي وتأكني تدوي خو دوي قيقج تاسوت تخاوت كيوت أتوك هودو شاطة أكتشتا لا أي قيا ودوجيتك شيخت يؤسيق أكو ثلاث عادات أيوك شاختو ونوكيد أكوني إتدخل تشقانا خويد ينقوز تاج تلقاتين كوني خواتشا كوك أتنا كوتش أو تبوانا نيشوي تاشوي تكو تتدد دوتي شاشو نخيخي كيوه تا سوتو كاكي شيختليو تاتاجانا جاقي تيو أول ناس نيجتا سوت أكوني تو لو أكاها شيختليو تويتو أي يقوى نقوات أو تلا أو تشاقاتن أو تهان تلا أخكن تودا وتشينوك هاج أتلا أو تلا كاكي أيا كاني أشتكاكي إشيكتو خاتشوه آتا يدي أسيوه وتواصل تاجانا جاقلا يدوا قوتلا يودا خطاني نيشلا واسيا قوانكو أتايا يوتواتي هو قينا أوت آتي هاتا قوتي دا سكشوا أخكي شفتا قاقود سوت خوخ تخ إيج أنتل سؤاسا خشوقها واقسي وقتخ يا كوسخا وأتوا آتياتي تشو خانا تقوها تقنا قدين قوكا قشقي دوات تشوية تشتكاكي إشيكتوا وقت تلقوا ويا كي وشاتش تكي إشكنش كيوا Tawana nisawa awa ach ʼakawtuwaneek ʼakawtuwaneek yuqaqa we'at hayate khachut وقفوه أواقع كنت تخشكاوة تخلين كده سوى لوج يا بقان يا كخشت شليو كتخ كناش قاتش لتتادش كودق خوني هو أخوا قواقع أشيوة تاتخوية أتشي هات تخ وخي تساعد كون قانون كي وشاء قاقا تاك توانا نيشتكاوة أدا وجود أيوت لتساق وقاق وإقيتي تلتكت أوت لتوشاق وأجت تنتيو يخاوخك جوتات شيء وقاوق لتايق تخشى وسيتيوا تستكتل شتلك نخاجة أدشيك تجشوق ودو يدي أدو شوي نقصيقو وخطوج خكنشت خقان يأوى شوبتب تقوخ تخطوت لأخاق تاشا استخاو وتو تخ يقويو سنا أوت قاخ وشاوت تو إيك هش تو سيلك هش تاشا تو شاتخي هش تو كيك هش تكتوت وتلايا خوشيك أق واشيق قنو كيو وتوتيو تسا نخط قاقاني خيا قوشته أنقل خيس قاقه يو توتي أتلس أنو أخلاقي قاقوشته يا تو ووجقنيات جخاو ونات تعيش نات تعيش لقش أشياء أو أشياء سأوخت كهويا كقوتلايو وجكنادا يا كنجل وجقنيات تقوقو سوت أكني أو تشوج تادا كيق تلايو تستوش كنا قوقوتي وت قوقو يا قوقه تلت شوان أو تي أو أخذوا وقت ودو يتكتب تدقق شو كان دخل لي خويا أنا قلت كنا شيء وقلت هو أنقل خيس توتي داتخشكي خد نخشتي تجاوب ودخكي ولا توتو فيه سخيت لي شيخت نخدوش تنج هوا شكشكخ خد كخدوش ساقه tl'anaxéedáḳw tututú wajijtleya tl'anaxéedáḳw khad naxsati anixkitejxit qa yix tuiqayo khad naqaxeku yix tlayak'etlu yaj tl'anaxéedáḳw ajat tl'anaxéedáḳw ajat tl'anaxéedáḳw ajat tlink'et'ani kayix yoya naxketajini naqawat tlayutuwakut tutiqta'wa xt'ata qawat akwaneya qawa q'ayawa ahee natjate ahee chechu itatitajachu eethit akwane q'ayanaqtu ejet awe tlat wakunalliet kutsak xewayo tlatlaltu awunuk Tl'anaxéedáхдh awat chihuahua tlayu. Gut ashatliltakat. Awat akawe yu ʼakawtuwaneek. Aqatlal qasakuhashtuasa awaqo. Katunika yu yut ʼéidáxulu. Awaya tayayi that Ḥukaháank'i ach ish natsalyu tu sakon. You ʼéidáxawe hastu ish kwa yu kadach. Tu sayi awe tu hastu tu awaya tin tu sayi awe natsal. Awe tu ish tu haskuchiti ya tu huwe ya dago. Ish ya dago sete. Awe aska awe yut atkawe chintan kutu saatich. We sak. Awe ʼakawtuwaneek tu skatlal qasatin chunu. But just awe sakanigi dachawe. You atahi ya te yuktutli atkata. Achitut uktawe. Go so awe sak. Go yanach akach o yanach achitut ukt. Tastasha yanach au. Awat ye tato netu ihatatu slakwe natsalkoa. The one anisha tu ishka tu taye yawaka. Etu jisha atenach tu saka. Aqashakta kukhte eshkokhla shat. Ya shani aya shayate hen teenagers. Shawat shana wa yu atu tu tachkhank altin. Wa tu tachkhank tu tlawo naqatu ish wa shatka. Awe wu wait. Ya wu wait the qachu tlaya aya kuyati yetu ukhun. You te yuqa itawatlaya. Ya tawa an aqqa. Ḥukaháank'i sati shaqatut linuk. Awe wu wait achawa wa chashita uliya khwashawachan wa tu tachkhanka. Aqa chawa chalkan ya te khashawsi akhyu ate awat asawa tu tachkhanka. Wai ko chawa at an qa'id Ḥukaháank'i. Whereas the tlada khujiti awat ya qa u dakhutua u washawchane. Hastakhat hashetu tliq. Atlakwan dakhasutu chini kushewa shea kukeyo. Awat ajish yetu tlaq haskaya tu tlaq haskla akhuda dakhukut. Ayut atu jishenak tu saqa. Adawa awa atla tu jishe kaktuska. Awat le awa haskaya kawa shane. Tlakhuta hawa as alqa wa iyid. Tlatlatuwa ushko. Tlatlatu ushko ushka diyakhti tiqa. Akhsika wa shayet lawastu tlaqa wastu ishtu layos da Ḥukaháank'i qatlastakat. Tlacho tlachayas awa. Ye awatato ne watu atitla tu idakatu tlaq. On tak sayo ayatasnaqi awatu tlaq. Ya awa shakhates Ḥukaháank'i kaya chalkikakh. Dasaya tawe janu dasastu chikit. Awa atekeswa at. Inna ateyit awasataqa. Tlak chaya itaktlek khatkuqahi shaqanini itakqakut tlayuyawaqa. Tlawatla shutiya chatakhina khashta khatawa shakatawa atyo. Achayu shanakh shakawa ahas ahasquya uhasqua. Wetu tu hukka wetu tu tlawe we not just tu tlaka wetu ishas awe. Tu achille achishas awliya tu yid. Tas tu achakuni shawtu lehigwa chill. Tlaye awshini tleltu tasaya ayaws. Ana utleqatla tu idhawtu tletlaq. Tu una yitletlek shiti tu una yitletsu tu idhawtu tletlaq. Tu ta ate tletlek u tasawakata tatin. Ya awtle keuchehihtu tlaqa tu ish itte. Chakaway ka yanach atutullin. Tlayut athas kajiskut kathasi. Tlak utustuj. Aka awe utuskuj yatlachan uwajako aka. Tu ish katu tlaqut itiqas altinwes tu yid. Awatlek yutu kenakut. Tu satat aye awat ut satat aye ayu shata akautis it. Janakut. Tlayu awe tlayu Ḳukaháaha tlachaskallihi nawa tlayu. Ahawayanakut ki ayayanani. Tasawa awa ach. Tayu na siete ust ʻakawtuwaneek taqaq ye awe ya ach. Tasak sheke tlayawa toti tlanawa yutuwakut. Tlawaye kuna siete akshtaataqa. Ha, tasak sheke. Aniyata wa yutuwakut tlatliyate tlayu tlatushukahawa tlayu yanakut. Chayak utahawayaq tuutishata hiqa asiya tuusu. Taakawatuna atinataqa tu kutas ikeawaq tu tuqatalli tuqustaq. Tlata yutuchihih. Tlaye kuna siete awak taqaqwat ʻakawtuwaneek. Tlas chaqeqa awat wa atatatuniyaq atanatlak. Tlaye kuna siete shukatlayu awaqa yenanin tlasqa ye ustinch. Tasak sheke tuyatuchin tuqustasat atquwachilliate. Chayak utahawa kahuchillia tukukachasi tuwasak. Taaqawa takayawat tauslik uts. Yutake usiqi. Chaanawa tlas chaye kuna siete awat kataqaq tlachatla. Tlasye ustinch. Hawasak sheke katatike. Chayak utahawa tutuwahih tujintag awallu. Aqawtake awallitiyo. Yanachke ake allita tlen sootsuwe hanakut. Wat ʻakawtuwaneek tuteqa. Tlatlastu yatutin wat siqawat. Tlayu chidawaniya tayu awsini tlatuteqa keuchikit tlatuchiqetutsikit. Wat ʻakawtuwaneek. Tla aasawa yulluya katan tlayatawa tlaanuchikan. Tlayutiki. Oqawa ata'a. Aqwalxeesawa. Yut at tsiqhawa atlaqchit kaqa ahinaq. Tlaqa awatu asaqwa at Ḳuqatushu. Wanaqas qayalliq aqa. Naqas qawaqqanisht. Qaqaq. Qaqan. Yataqawach utlaltak hat atchutlachukalsaq tekiwa. Silaqut nelhuqaqutiq. Yeke qatquqati. Tlatusha awayu anasnich Tlahe atlak yu ashtaqata sa ulxees. Tleye aqanaxkaq. Ate yuqayathankiye tewa tataq alqul we tlayek tliyati owaxa wet akneda. Awa alqul yo. Lakiesh. Awe we ayana kakakhleniga qawe aknedu chitiskit we aslukat ishken yu awa ishwasini ha tlaya tusak ich tahawa tlayu akatlikhos tlaya tu qayite we akawat lak we ashtiqka akikaltaqa qawa awe yesho kahwa yaki ashukahih ta shaka qawsika tujiyek qati at yu ashtaqat tushatin yu qayaqa wanani shawaya yawshiqaha تهوج آية تتكخق أقوس أختيس وات آية يقنخ كندناكو أيانا خطلت إجيدك خسانوك تأكوني كيك خسانوك يقتناشك أويو أتلتوشكو أقايا خيجي ونية هتلت إجيدك خسانوك كيك خسانوك يقتناشك ها أخ وكندنا قاقا تجيدك خسانوك يا إياتي يوياتي وأقا تل أقايخو تجيدكيا جاءت آوي وتوياتي تكاخو دوشاتي توايو كوني شوك تقوى ووز قاوتة شاء تيويا وقاتو شيوسن آيا وانك هتكون آية قد آيتا خوا أخو تهان تشوي ويتا تكاخو توشادي يا وانك تجايا أويو أو سنة تتوجي دخل وتجيت تتدقى وتجيت أنا ويو دوات أقيا وآتشو أخيا وقود يتقشي كوسوة تلا قشي تيوتيني تلاين دا أوي أوي كالتق أوي تلتوخو شيا وقود تلاي أوي أتي وقا قشيتي أنا قد يوكي تلنا يو أيا أختي أيو أقيا وآيتو يدي أنا قد أيا وقود وأشقيا كند وقودية تاتشي كتشاق تنستقاوت لكوتيخ يوكاواني وتلاتك تليو أكتاكا وتشاخا يوت أت كتشخناقات يخاتي يشيكو قداسوا ye awa kakutike yo awa tlakuna yo iti yo naskatushu awa kayate tlayo awa ʻakawtuwaneek shea qoni kwa kichkanagat ka tlayal ikku awa awa yati yo awa at tlawa wetusat atayate ke awa kiki awa tlatuchihi تلايا كوتين خاتي أو تلان تلايو تلوسا السدات عايتلا تاي غيا ويش لا كايا تانا قوسي أخ تلايو أخو خدي كوت وتو تا أواسيتي وتو قوت سكوشاتك أواخجية ناي شوتي أوك أتين ناي شندا أو تو أكاكاوتسيكو يو Nishikuke acho. Awa kona ye uakut. Kodach sayo tutish tutudayana kut. kenakut. Taasuytsi shaanaq shaaqsi qanaqnaashu. Tl'anaxéedáхдh awisitin tuyiitki hist kenakute washawat. Yutat ayuwaq ayikak yaat awake awakashla. Qeesawa alwas watuyiit. Washawachan. Awatla tl'anaxéedáхдh awa islatin. Itshaktayan wahaayit qeesayayaat atqallawas. Tlallat Ḳukaháaha tlayuyawaqa. Tlayushaakaqa tlayukanax'eechwatz'ij tz'ijutuwasaako. Tlatayijqawa kequwal'ik. Yut tliyanalli. Tawatu uushatata kautiyiq tlatayitawuchil. Awaye shutukat uwakututish. Tsuqqaaq. Yu duwet qutahyute allitin awe tuqaquhutikut. Tuwaqinitina ana ustuta. Kutaqstakaayuqqaaq. Kutaqtutish saydukat uwakut. Khaanaate awayo awatu ishanaxaatu wakut. Akhid hatu wahakhena hukut akhid awaqayaqawashawat. Khwasakuwasawe wet ayukaye awatu qeskhwalliwaswayuta khwasitin kenakute. Awatlatlallat Ḳukaháaha tlayuyawaqayus. Yut tz'ihtayitawutlu qasatiqe'aktlejiit yuwaqaqa washawat wetutla awatla uqewa atewukut wetu ish nachal wasiyatiit tlilaqe'kiljiitleq awat Chawanina watu tlaach o ahqa awa chawanina watu ʼakawtuwaneek watu ish wasawuti. Tlach'ahuch awa tlach'asheya wasaqa tlallayajjatuti. Qayajat qaqwaji awat tlach'ahuch awa tasha wasaqa tlausiku wasawuti. Tawatu shati awsaqa aqutu atqa qallilinu tutaneeqiq. Asachukushi yakwiku ataqun awahas qewajiyo. Ya awahas tuqeji at. Sutaqun. Taqun tahinas tuqetjiwa at. Ya awah taqun uwaji aqatlal atiki awaskuwa yataqwa wanachal. Tutishayu tukatu wakut. Ya awachun yat atat. Awachun washawat. Kutaqstakayo. Yan shutsani hishawat ayashkantu wakut. Tla ashukawa jawa shaya yechi tu inechi kahtuni wallakhitlis. Khatawi iqa khatusu. Yu awashtaqa yu. Kostutatutunak yu oktakani shawat yu. Yu awaye idechi kahtuni qayu yechi kqini qayu tla ashutu at kulliyat atayande ashukanajine yu a. Tlastakat aqwatla awsikutla. Tlakelt wuchahanasqiltlas tlatasa. Tlawasawa ashukawa jawatu isht. Washanahini tlatlasas tufandakunalliyu a anahtaqawataye. Awatla yu awayan yandas asqit. Tlayu taqunika. Ya ihnaka awatla tlayu inta tlayu kawaha. Watu yidaya kwanuki awa. Ya awatsaye tuatiwe kayani hukha yishiku ke katakach katlakach nastij. Awa ate aya. Tlaqito aya taqawa utlayu da unika. Aqawacha takta ashaya. Atade au shiku watu yid we kuka ke sakawa hayya. Kate takta has ashaya laqichas alkhiz. Kahwa huji aya. Tlatu shakina ke kawa ukaya nitag. We do wait has awliya kaya nitag. Aqa awa ye outlekhiz natal. Go akshas akkuch utsukuch awu uk. You haskakashit akkuch o you outlekhiz. Tayewute. Chach away. Yante yanya ade shku akwe hande akani ya yenaskatusho at ut hat yesuliesto achche we to ishokshi hede yosini we estis kande wukutie dat stakawa tlewasatat aitu tleyu akatawa tleyu ʻakawtuwaneek awa at we kaktige at we tlet إقناع وتقايا هتلاقون كيوية في أوقات تلاقيات لك وش تلاقي أوياتي أوقات يا أوق خخ أوقات و شان تندخلوا تجني أو وشوات شان قو أو تلاش أتكون
Out. Let's do a quick check-in. So that was a 31.5-minute story. Be able to follow it when you hear?
Parts of it.
Parts of it. She's very, very clear speaker, pretty good pace.
I could pick out like some nouns and some verbs that I recognized, but like a lot of it's just really high level stuff that if I get caught up too much in something, then I like miss the whole next 3 sentences. So
Yeah, a lot of us hit this phase where like, and you've got to train your brain to be like, I don't know it, I got to keep going. I got to stay in the moment and then like put together the pieces. But what we'll do is we'll read a different version of the exact same story. And so it's going to have all the same stuff, but it'll be said differently. And then we'll have the translation on the right-hand side. And we might break into English a few times to sort of talk about some things. We won't take a second break because I think this will bring us right up to the end of class. So gear yourselves up. My little light just went up. Okay.
As the story's going along, I'm trying to say the phrases that I think I'm hearing, and it's making it easier to hear it as I go along.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and so I'll put the link to the audio there so that then you can read this one, and then you could go back and listen to the other one, and it does go together in your brain once you sort of know the story too. Like, so I've read the story a whole bunch, so I could follow it. And it's really fun to think about the things and then to sort of say, oh yeah, I wonder, okay, I think I know what that thing is. So yeah. So I think we'll just go in the order of what I see for participants. So we'll go Ḳukaháank'i, Kuháank'i, Seidayaa, ʼéidáx, ʼéidáx. What do you want? You want to read a page? You want to read a sentence? You want to read until you're tired?
Was a good take a cook.
I like the page as well.
Okay, and then when we hit the bottom of the page, I might point out a couple of things, but we'll just do all the Tlingit. So, ʼakawtuwaneek.
Hatchetlakowa inch kadusniken. Kachet sa acht. Awe in kaudutlanik. Wait an tl'anaxéedáḳw. You show it. Chitlede du kadeya kunahen. Kunya kunalkas. Tlakawa tlesneich kat ʼakawtuwaneek. Duweich in. Chakut just hit ka cake should do teach. De yeya schnada nook we show what. Godak sakshewe ya kunalkas. Awe at dane. He tlewuch kika de awe tle chush hit ye wood zene ye dudzeni. Tle chatech ya a act a do ark.
Okay, sheesh. Do we know what the verb root is for this one? Weichen.
What?
When you go, what does like ʼá'anascuain? Do we know what ʼá'anascuain is in the like perfective?
Yeah. Ku?
Ausaku.
Ausaku.
Right. So then what might weich be if we
Woo?
there's two suffixes. Well, it's unusual. There's three suffixes on this verb. 1, 2, 3. If we take those three suffixes off, what do you think we got?
Woo.
Wow.
Ooh, ooh,
Ooh.
like do
Ooh.
one. It's an unusual one. So when you close it, it goes to weich. And then, do we know what this is?
Little lake.
Do we know which lake it is?
This little lake?
The one right by campus. That's where this story took place.
Oh.
So it's not just a little lake, it's that's where she started.
Little lake.
Yeah, well. Okay. Let's see. Let's see, this is it, right? Okay, yep.
Awe weshawat kachwa yeshtanuk you deshi dudach awanok tle chashit chagut du gsk shoduati tle ayi awe tle adin wududzini du yaak adin aga awe Yesu wesha du yach sha du tlak ka du shat du tla du dachunak ka chwa pugasti we takwane du tuk tude du dzinuk jidua ach Ďiqach duyik uduayik.
Sheesh. Ḳukaháa. I guess.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, can you just go up a bit, Ḳune? Oh, Deshi, eh? So have you heard that before?
Not a whole lot. Like there's day, she, squatch.
Okay. Lagoon in her stories for time passing, eh? When she'll say Deshki, Deshki.
Ah,
She'll say it like 3 times, Deshki, and it means a long time has passed, eh?
ah. Okay, good sheesh. Yeah, and all these little like storytelling particles that sometimes pop up like that. Like if you look in once you get to the Raven book, you'll see de squatch a lot, which it seems to mean like it had already started to happen, sort of. And then you've got day, which if day pops up before a verb, it means it already happened. De squatch, I think, means it had already happened and it's a bigger deal, perhaps. And now, de shi and de shki, which have to do with kind of time passage, which the equivalents on the coast might be wananisowe, which is what it's like at some point. It's how you sort of time jump in a story, I think. Okay.
So words for finally, like there's dehua and satguyega.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just so interesting that you hear kahwa a lot in her stories, and then kahwashke. I'd never really heard those before. Sometimes they mean eventually or finally, but like something to do with the passage of time. But
yeah, which is really interesting because the Atlan group's doing some work with Keishi, and she goes back and forth between dehua and satguyega, which is really interesting.
mm-hmm.
They're both finally, but it seemed like they were sort of like, if you're here, you use this one. If you're there, you use that one. But then she's using both. So there could be some subtle differences between the two as well. And now we got kahwa, which I don't know of too many other speakers that use this one too much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Kuháank'i.
At ka'awa at dusta. Dek un uchi sakshewe. Tsati owe. At wajik ein. We ayach. We ayach. Ata yadi you awedu asak. Chawasa kuwanugu ata yadi awe wait. You awe kuchayaka. We yisk isani awe ye chayaka. Detsu wenach Janashken to you awe. Awe a gate has awati. At wujikain you has a dayakai. Detsu wenach hot wujiken where ata yadi you a agawe. Tletsugiya aduchsa use chakushek. Stuqait yauduzika.
Yeesh. Echa. So yeah, we get gate popping up in here quite a bit, which is kind of means in opposition. And it's such a neat like thing because you could say wushke tasbudaat, they encountered each other. That's not, there's no negative sort of thing with that. It's like they ran into each other. Like if you said, oh yeah, you know how I ran into at the store. But then if you have like to gate, that means to disagree, to think differently about things. And then they're disagreeing with each other. And then if you have like a gate with the git, it means you violated some sort of law or custom. And then here you have a gate has awati. And this awati is like imitating. And then a gate. So like they were doing it, it was wrong the way they were imitating this little bird. I don't know what that little bird is. Tayeti. It's a lake bottom child. I don't know what kind of bird that is, but if I see a bird I don't know, I'm certainly not going to make fun of it. Or any bird.
Well, it's right there by the university.
Yeah, I'm not going to look for it. Let's see what's going to happen. And then Yach. That's a really good one to know because a lake doesn't, the only niche is on the ocean. So any other beach is going to be Yach. And so Ḳukaháa's would use this one a lot. And so Yach de Haspukut. They went, or Haspuat, they went to the lake. Okay. Skydoon.
Away to Clewe with Tsagadi Dasa we Nusku Dasa Wuch Gana Yade Wuch Stakat Wuch Gunayade away Clay you atu Ayause Clay yade to you Clay kunach Adane yan asheu away Kahut wujik en we at we a tayade Clay we kawak Clay kinde dach ashak Cleo Clay achitidishi Ashaka Clay chas ke dach ʼakawtuwaneek we kawak was Seidayaa tu do nu Tl'anaxéedáxa awe we Ķuháank'i
Sheesh. Some really neat things in here is when you're like list building. So it's like lynx blankets, beaver blankets, dasa. So like when you're building a list and you throw dasa in there, you're like, whatever, right? It's like all kinds of things. And so you'll see other speakers who do that. And then here like adds more, right? So what she's really saying is like there are all kinds of blankets. Then you get uchquniyate, different kinds. And then another neat thing here is how often she's using the fourth person. And I do think for translation, the fourth person should be people and not they, just so that learners can see how it gets used, right? So when you have a yausachep, the people were asleep, or laying down, right? And then this asheu, that might be ascheu, but I'll have to check it. I'll have to check that one. I would expect it to be, but it could be something different. It could also be acheu, is what I would also expect perhaps there. Then when we get kawak, people's eyes, then from it, kinde, upwards, dach, non-human plural, ashakatek, very specific verb. So you have kek, like a berry. So berry is the verb root, because this means to like pick a single berry with your fingers. So, when you get into berry picking, you do have different ways to talk about it. It is just berry picking. But then you have a'in, which would be picking a specific type of berries. And it means to fill a container. But then when you get to this, ashakatek, it means like you're picking up these eyeballs from the head. Like, and so there's a head built in there. There's berries at the end. And so it's a very specific verb for like how this bird is, because it's plucking their eyes out. But basically it's doing it in a way to make sure they're not going to pop. That's what it seems like to me. Like it's carefully, because if you're picking a berry, you don't want it to squish. So that's why you pick it carefully, right? So it's a very specific verb. And I told this story to Kayana when she's probably 3. I got in trouble for this. And I stopped at this point. I was like, she says, no, tell it. She says, tell it. And so I told the whole thing. And I all of these parts I said. And we got to the end. She said, what was scary? What's the scary part? I was like, their eyeballs full of blood. So then I laughed and I told Mariah, and I got in a little bit of trouble for it. So there might be, if there was a kid's version of this, there, I don't know about we're going to get to the toasted eyeballs part as well. And then just these little particles like Seidayaa and Ashiwege, you're going to see a whole bunch of these from different storytellers. And it's a big combination of things that have to do with like doubt particles. Like, how could it be that they didn't feel anything, right? And so it's also really neat how these things are sometimes posed as kind of questions, but also sometimes kind of riddles. It's like, how did they not feel it? But it's also not really a question when they sort of say it like that. Okay. Yidishitzin.
To you, Agan Ade Yanachich Yeyahawe Kahu Yanagutle Clayutle Kahwa just the cut ka walk off K Akajel Wasawe at Wuni Yesu Kia Ye Wuni Kahwa we Adane Kia Kahich Aga awe we shawat Deja do shoot adu ak nijin Wasawe aduni Tletsu a sa hach ugud Dech uche awe we shawat Ade ke ua ik Da hat a kagu di Yuan De art ach kanachwuti Łukaháa Tlech zu tlech kulkat Wasaya de atnani Yeawe tuati.
Sheesh. Always good parts in here. Bakan adeya nechichye, the way the sun goes around. And then you have yach right after that. You might write those as 2 separate words. Ye yach awe. Another like interesting eyeball carrying verb is like it's taking multiple trips, and that's told to us by this akajesh. It means to carry a whole bunch of different things, usually in multiple trips. Like I got to move all these boxes, and so this bird's really packing it around. And then you got they always used to have a fire built by this time, right? So that's the day popping up before it is saying it already happens. And then shoot at the nijin. So nijin is like used to always. They used to always have a fire built by this time. And like all of that is coded in there, right? So the other thing is whenever you have like nobody or nothing, like klesh asa, that's going to push the verb negative. I first learned that when one of my uncles said klesh dasahas awasku. they don't know nothing. And I was like, oh, the verb goes negative there. And well, yeah, they don't know nothing. So it was really fun. But just to see how those things sort of work. So you could say kesh ugud, they didn't go there. And then the ha is what puts it into a repetitive mode. Dech uchi, that's really neat too, because you don't have to say days, because yawachi is for a day to pass. So like it's already built into the verb. So you could say dachadu shu'uchi, 7 days passed. A very short form to do that, which is really neat. And then kutch, the people were all quiet. It was all quiet. That's really neat. And then wasaya de atnani, what could have already happened. But it's fun stuff. Okay. Yeshedi.
Yet a taught away, de su du koch ke at nashich, ke du ku away you on a sneech, tsu we do ʻakawtuwaneek to chu tle, ayadat wujachich, aku gawe a walk ke ashka wutlegu away tle you on a sneech tle dasa achech ishchich you away tuati kachwoshke ke ye nani tletles kuwasti yusutsu ade Ḳukaháaʻu ak yat yudu uwu ʻéidáx yanach awe yat ka aya kandu wage tleskadain ka kuatiyi awe tsa Yesu kushadus nuch.
Sheesh. So there is fun stuff here, like especially like a little bird trying to pluck your eyes out. So now you know how to talk about that, right? Like it's coming up around its face. It's running up around its face, right? And dukach ke etnishich. So here we got again, like something walking on someone or running up on someone is a bad thing. Like that's just how Tl'anaxéedágsmål thinks about those types of things. So now we get the negative. So now we could know how to say it didn't try to remove someone's eyes like a berry. Like it's just such an interesting sort of story. Like there's very unusual things in here conceptually, and that's why I think because it was such a scary thing for this bird to be doing that it gets its whole own vocabulary, which there's more coming for that kind of stuff. And then when we got this pudziti and keshkusti, it's really interesting too, because it does mean exist, like pudziti is to exist. And now pudziti is to be born. But there was another story where they said something like, and then they saw that she wasn't there. So that's also what it means. It's just like isn't there sometimes, right? So that's what's being communicated here is like it stopped, right? The bird is gone. And then there's some neat things going on in there, which is basically kind of a hortative form, and you get this right before it, and it would be like, it would be good if I tried. And then we also get a really neat verb here. Here's that oo verb again. So pundu would be like people are putting people somewhere, is really what it means. So that's why you get yi at ka on the bed. People would always put people on the bed. That's what you got there. And then you've got another one here, which is people always help them get up. They get them up. Might not need two A's right there. Okay. Ḥukaháa. Oh, I thought I was going to get the toasted eyeballs. I guess someone else gets it. Ḥukaháa ʼéidáx. Ḥukaháa ʼéidáx. Ade we ʼakawtuwaneek. Dasawetu chukle. Cheltakat. Keltu we gone to Tl'anaxéedágsmål. Oh, gone, we gone to Tl'anaxéedágsmål. Chukle ʼakawtuwaneek. Ḥukaháa ʼéidáx. Dasawetu chukle. Dasawetu chukle chashe. Ḥukaháa yach. Daxshe yautlitz. Ḥukaháa yanagut tleyu. Pusha yadehin you a. Ḥukaháa tl'anaxéedágsmål. Chaye a ote. Ade awa uach. Someone's going to get that great line coming up. Just like I'd say, keep an eye on this tle, how it's being used. Like sometimes it pops up multiple times in a sentence, and it really implies like things are happening right at the same time, like really getting into this sequential type of stuff. Shawa yish, like pulling the blanket off of their heads. And then ka wakshita, so where the cavity where the eyeball was is full of blood. And so then that's where she is the blood, it is full of a liquid. Pushiat dehin, lots of people. And then there wasn't even one of them, right? And so that's what this is saying. Just then, not also just one, just there. So what that's saying is like not a single one of them was still there, kind of was untouched, is what you end up with. And now she keeps hearing it. Ḥukaháa.
Yanach ʼakawtuwaneek akua. Adeawe uachshwe. Kawagi gwachke. Kawagi gwachke. You awe at wujakain. Kawagi gwachke. Kawagi gwachke. You awe chayakawe wait at. Ha ya anaket. Asaya adeye duwa achchwe. We tsatsi, we atayadi. Tsatsi ayushkashnik. Ja'anku ayu atahawe kudzati.
Sheesh. So yeah, ḥukaháa is to toast something really quickly. I don't know of any other uses of this verb. And so the only place that I've seen it is in this story. And so ḥukaháa is like it's toasting these eyeballs really quickly. It's yelling this. And so she's in this brush hut by herself. and she keeps hearing this thing coming up at her, and then it starts yelling this stuff outside. So this is where she's starting to get really suspicious that something bad has happened. And it lives on the bottom of that little lake. Okay, ʼéidáx.
Awe ana yakudutligat. Haha wasaya khatgugati you awe tuati you a. Shugunach tse gach shoot a. Du tlahas, du ishas, du ikhas, du shatchihas, du kakhas, du sunnyhas. Seidayaa udihain gach hawasakshewe khatgugati. Hawasakshewe khatgugati you awe tuati you a. Aga awe you a. The yashugu ayi kach kodua yayi hu awe.
Sheesh. So this ʼakawtuwaneek is to offend someone. So a lot of times you can put the creature that's offended right here with the underline X right after it. So you could say hoots. And then you usually get aya. And that, but you could have here you got khana ya ʼakawtuwaneek. Shoot is really interesting here. Like I know we've been talking, Chifu and I, about the many uses of sh and what could it mean. It is kind of the end of something. But here you've got ga, shoot, it's like she's just sitting on the end of the edge of crying, maybe, right? And so it's really interesting because then we have shoot out the uk for building a fire, which kind of makes sense. Like maybe the end of a stick or something is what you're going to light. But you also have shu, which means half of something, which is to be at shu. Usually when it comes right after a noun like de shu, that's the end of the trail. Like it makes sense in those ways. But where it starts to get more complicated, I think, is a phrase like ach shu de, which Raven says, and people translate that as come and get me.
Kind of in that UFO story, we're sitting at breakfast and at Asayek Tsutat Atha Ut Tukini, where we're sitting. I always thought the shoot was kind of that distance or that space between people, but here it's just her, sitting by herself.
Right, and so shoot sounds like she's seated at the end of crying, right? Because shu usually belongs to a noun, like it refers to the noun that comes right before it, right? So you could say nadak shoot or what, like the end of something. They shoot sitting at the end of the road, right? Okay.
And also Seidayaa udihain. What verb? That's ha, I guess, but to lament.
I don't know why it would close though.
Ah.
Right, it sounds like she's claiming their voices, maybe. But yeah, that's a good question, because there is a Seidayaa, which is to be, I think that means to be lonely for someone. Is that right? Like to be you're wishing for them. But here you have say being outside of the verb as opposed to sa. And then, because you've got dach right here, which is also typically a non-human pluralizer, but it can also be pluralizing like in terms of like these different ones. So you could certainly say like, in this case, she's lamenting every one of them individually, kind of.
Mm.
Yeah, that one's, there's some complicated stuff going on in that little short phrase.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sheesh.
Mhm. Okay. Ḳukaháank'i.
Tl'anat odiish weshawat. So where do yet gutsu to chukuna to adade akayik tlayu to aniyade to chukuna to gwal ku dasa ku tlawuch kinade ya akanajel kahwashke ye ya kagutla you where do yet gutsu chutle de tlesdu tindu where do yet go hawasaya tlekahwa chutle tlesdu tu ushko chaye on at satani weku tlesta cut away not a cody jess gawetsa
Sheesh. Yeah, so again, we see like ways to like make these big lists of things of what she's doing. So Wuchkinade on top of them each other. So there's a lot of fun things with wuch, like wuchkika, wuchkinade, wuchkina, wuchitr, whole bunch of things like that, like stacking, like so kina is above. So stacking one on top of the other is basically what you end up getting. And this akanajesh, to just keep moving multiple things. Okay. Kleshdutin couldn't be seen. And then a satan. Satan is for like usually a stick-like object to be laying there. Okay. Skydo.
Yesu ki you wune awe. Kona yek wagut chakugay awe. We do yat utsu. Gwash we jik ten gewe. Yaunash jik. Aga awe han Yude kutis. Datch ge hat nachsati ush es awe datch gewe hat nachsati adayu to a tank at han klish to clay clouk ye yawuna kain adach to ye yawaka datch gewes hat nachsati ya dachun ye yanaka oe ʼéidáx or ʼéidáx
Okay. Anachidak.
ʼéidáx.
Sheesh. There is this jik verb, which might be worth checking out. See if we could find it. To carry across your shoulders, to pack on your back with your head up. So like here's another sort of carrying verb, right? And so when we kind of get that, then we go back to our story. Oops, wrong one. Ţ'ka, right? So it's something that you can carry across your back, because ya is to carry on the back, and then we get a little bit of a different type of back carrying, and then
Oh,
we
like-
well, yeah, I guess let's see what the example they have. Carry across shoulders, right? So it is up here, right? It's different than carrying on your back.
There's two different ways to pack a deer, though.
Mm.
Like you could carry it like a roll of carpet, across your shoulders like that. But the way I always taught is you cut the tendons and run the front legs through the back and carry it like a backpack with the head kind of bobbing around up top.
Yeah, which I think would be ya, because that would be to carry on your back, like, which would be this one. Ḳukáháa:n. So this would be if you're wearing it like a backpack, right? So you can cut a deer so that you can wear it basically like a backpack. But then if you were to put it up on your shoulders behind your neck, then that's what I think you've got right there.
That video I'm just working on about Tl'agoon when her father was a baby and he was sick, and his mom used to pack him around everywhere. How she says it, she says, at anasnuk, at anasjik, Tl'akatyede. She carried him around on her back or his shoulders everywhere, is what she says, eh?
Yeah, and so that might be basically like, what do they call it when you take a kid and you seat them like right here.
Mm.
That's, I think, what you would be having with this one. Whereas if their hands were here and their body was down here, that would be more the backpack type of carry. Okay. Well, we made it this far. It's a big story, and there's a lot of big stories in here. So we might pick up here. I will send out which Raven stories you're to listen to. Take Friday off next week, but the week after that is when you'll listen to those Raven stories. And then we'll check back in the week after that. And so I'll certainly send some correspondence between now and then. But appreciate you all and all the hard work you do in here. It's going through a lot of big, heavy stuff, and don't make fun of no birds. Sheesh.
Good. Sheesh. See you, Costin.
Ish.
Gulchish.
Ţ'ka.